On set with us now is David Allen Kogut, and he is the founder of Star Equity. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you for having me. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's lovely to be with you once again. What is Star Equity? What does your brand mean to you?
Star Equity, we actually have a catchphrase that says, wake up in your dream. And the reason we have that is because the people we work with or the companies we work with, basically we take whatever they want to have, their A to B, and we make it real. We make it happen for them. So it's about basically making your dreams come true.
What do you find in working with so many people is maybe a common stumbling block for people? Why are they not being able to manifest their dreams?
Sometimes it's a lack of vision, or they have a vision, but it's not clarity.
Okay.
They have a lot of visions, so they don't know if they should go this way, or this way. And so basically working with me is creating clarity for themselves. And the biggest thing is the why they're doing it. So when we work with people, it's about developing the why, because they can spend years going in one direction. I want to do music. No, maybe I want to do something else. But they don't even know why they're doing it. They kind of get on a roll and they waste a lot of time, and we try to squeeze that time frame down. Right?
What's your why for standing behind the camera?
Oh, wow. I've been in the visual arts my whole life, so it's an art. It's seeing art. If I shoot fashion, to me, it's artwork. If I'm on a red carpet and getting that person and that interaction and getting that shot, it's art. So it's just creating it live creation for me.
How did you discover you were good at it?
Oh, you know what? My dad was a photographer, and he used to go out and just shoot for hobby. And one day he had an older camera, and he didn't give it to me. He said, "I'm going to sell this to you."
Nice.
And so I had to earn the ability to go and do this. And so I did. I forget what I had, a paper route or something at the time, And I bought this camera, and I just started playing around with it, and I discovered, wow, you kind of look at this world in this little frame, and just found that, this works for me, and just kind of took it from there.
Did you ever try to develop some of your own prints? Did you set up a darkroom for yourself, or?
Yeah, well, in college I was filmed during the days. There was no digital, so. What I did is I did the next best thing. I went and got a job at a studio, so that they basically gave me the key. On your downtime, you had all the access to everything. So I used to print mounds and mounds of 8x10s and soup my own film, and I could really be creative because it didn't cost me anything. Which at 18 years old, I didn't have a lot of money to spend on that, so I could. It's basically a free ride to go and just be creative. So that's how.
And how have you built your business? How has Star Equity, what are some of the steps that you've taken to get to where you are now? Because your work is so impressive, but you've done a lot. You've woven in some album covers. I mean, you've done different things over the years with it.
Yeah, well, when I first started, it was all about design.
Okay.
So photography was always a big part of what I did, but it was this. I remember being in college where my professors used to say, you have to make up your mind. Are you a photographer? Are you a creative director? Which one is it? Because you can't be the master. And I used to argue with them, and I used to say, no, but I love shooting, But, I love designing, and I love being creative and, being in a zone that way. And basically, I just kind of rode both those rails for a long time. And I got a break, basically. I had a studio, and I worked in upstate New York. But the big break came when someone was leaving BMG Music as an art director here in New York, and called up, and I did small things. I was doing advertisement placement, things like that. And long story short, I showed up for an interview. They needed someone as an art director to do album covers and advertising for Billboard, all this kind of thing, way over my head at the time. And I showed up, and he said, "Can you do that? Can you do that?" And I said, "Why, yes, I can." I had no clue what I was doing. But I got hired that day, and I physically drove back to upstate New York, put all my stuff on the curb, and left.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
took all my stuff out of the apartment.
I love that.
Left. Yeah,
really?
I just took a shot.
And didn't look back.
Did not look back.
Love that.
And I was in a big city and didn't know anyone, and just day by day took it as it came.
Recently, you did the cover for Meatloaf.
That's right. Yeah.
I want to hear all about that.
Yeah.
How did that process happen?
Well, I've been working with 429 Records for many since the beginning, and they've worked with huge names. The LL Cool J's, the John Poppers, and Macy Grays, and I'm good friends with the CEO of that company, and I've always been on the creative end. And he called me up one day and he says, hey, we got a fun project. And that was wow, almost a year ago, had to be. And, things moved very, very slowly because working with Meatloaf and his wife are very particular. I mean, everything has to be exactly perfect. So tons of changes, tons of, moving things around and just, from a creative end. But, finally it came all together and, they signed off and I was happy when that was done. But it's a great album. It's colorful. It's back to the old Meatloaf concept back in the, Bat Out of Hell days. And the cover looks like Bat Out of Hell.
Yeah, a lot of action. You got a lot of action in it.
It's the Armageddon. It's the horsemen coming out of the, out of the clouds and out of the fire. And there's, Meat sitting there to accept it, and it's going to be his last album, so it's quite a legacy, to be able to say that I was part of that. And back in the day when I started my company, my business partner was actually the lead guitarist for Meatloaf, so I was familiar with his whole camp and his his crew and how he worked and that kind of thing.
Have you had other moments of serendipity, if you will? Like I'm doing the infinity symbol with my fingers here. Oh, did I just lose an earring? And have there been other little magical moments along the way for you where things connected? Oh, now I lost my earring. Slightly psychic. Sorry, everybody.
I did that.
What?
How I started in photography with the whole celebrity world actually happened like that. Because one day, again, I was in Buffalo, New York, where I'm originally from, and I was shooting for the Buffalo Chamber of Commerce because Don King had the WBA championship heavyweight with Tony Tubbs and Greg Page at the time. So I'm there clicking away, right, and mind my own business. And this little guy comes over. It's a PR guy for Don King, and he comes over and he grabs my arm and he says, "I want you to take pictures of Don with Diet Pepsi in his hand." And I'm like, "Who are you?" He goes, "I'm his PR guy. Just come over here and do this." Long story short, I clicked all these pictures off, not knowing who these people were.
Right.
"Hi, Don. Nice to meet you." And that was it. The next day, I got a phone call, and he said, "Don wants you to come down and shoot the whole fight, shoot all the training. You see it in the movies where the guys are training in the hotels and that kind of thing." So I get signed on. I'm working for Don King Productions, and what Don always did is he always brought a lot of celebrities ringside to bring attention, to give it some pizzazz. So the night before the fight, I'm sitting at this table in this huge odd restaurant by myself with my little camera. I was 20 years old maybe, and a woman comes and sits down and says, "Hi, hello, how are you?" It was Janet Jackson.
Wow.
So she sits down, then LaToya sits down, and then David Hasselhoff comes over, and then Belinda Carlisle and Carlos Palomino, and all these people. It was like 12 top, and me. So I'm like, "How are you? How are you? How are you? How are you?" Getting cards and names and numbers. And I met the PR guy who was Morgan Mason, the son of James Mason. His son ran this PR firm. And the better part of that story was after the fight, the next day, I get a call from the same crotchety old guy. He says, "Don's going to come and pick you up in about a half an hour." "Okay, where are we going?" "You're going to L.A., and he wants you to take pictures of everybody on the plane." It was a plane back then, Regent Airlines. It was the Airlines of the Stars.
Wow.
737s decked out with water beds and couches and all this thing. And Don King rolled up. I was living at home with my parents. Rolled up in his limo. And here I am getting in this car with Don King. Never been in a limo in my life, playing with the power windows. And I thought, "Wow, this is cool. Hi, Don. Hey, this is cool, And he rolled up to this 737 and got on board. And Jackson, Joe Jackson or Mr. Jackson was there, his father and the mother and the whole family, and just countless celebrities hanging out. Whoever came to the fight, and they were shipping them back to L.A. And I was on board to kind of like document the whole thing, and then fly right back.
Wow.
But I had like 30 minutes to get ready. So I remember I was going to a parent. "Yeah, I'm going to L.A. I guess I'll be back.
I guess I'll be back.
Whenever. I don't know, because this guy doesn't tell me anything." So I packed a little bag and my camera gear and all my film, and boom, took off to L.A.
And and a good point for people is to just have a bag packed and ready to go.
That's what it is. Life happens.
It does. This summer was the very first time I ever went to Fire Island. I've lived on Long Island like 20-something years now. Yeah. Never been to Fire Island. All it is a ferry ride over, right?
Right.
This summer I went I think, no, maybe 6 times. So I decided, because I had such an amazing summer, that from now on I'm always going to have a bag packed. You know, a shirt, a sundress, you know, a couple of things, toothbrush, and then be ready to go. Do you find that some of your best opportunities that you've had was just being ready for the call,
absolutely. Yeah.
and you're out the door?
It's leaving it open for the universe to allow it to come in. You know, living life like this instead of like this.
Ah, like
you know?
this.
Yeah, have it open.
I say it's raining greatness every day.
Yeah.
And I do that with my hand. I'm like, it's raining greatness every day. And they're
That's
like,
it.
really? I'm like, well, yeah, it is. And if you're there, you can get all the goodness out of it.
Absolutely.
You know?
And to let go of things too. You know, so if things don't happen because you wanted them to happen, as we talked earlier,
Yeah.
and you think they should happen because, wait a minute, all my things are in a row. It's like a Jenga thing. I don't, you know, if I pull it out, it's all going to fall. But you know, it's letting that go, because there's always something else.
Always.
That you don't know is going to happen. And that's happened many times where, you know, what I thought was going to happen didn't. Something better really was amazing right behind the door.
It's true. And I always say that the universe is conspiring on my behalf.
Yeah.
Right? Because I feel like with the show, what I'm really trying to do is do good things for others. It's my opportunity to help be a conduit for good messages, good things to happen. And so I'm like, okay, so like you said, do I get disappointed sometimes? Yes. But then I always say to myself, I'm like, well, something else is going to happen, right? But it's fantastic that you said yes, instead of just being like, oh, I don't know if I could go to Los Angeles. I don't know this guy. You didn't talk yourself out of it. You talked yourself into it.
That's right. That's right. And many of the things that I've done that have turned out really, really well were generally situations that I didn't know exactly what I was doing. BMG being the perfect one where, yeah, can I do that? Yes, I can. You know, can you do this? Sure. You know, and I'll figure it out later. I mean, it was kind of like Richard Branson has a philosophy that way. Say yes and then figure it out later. And I think that's, for me, it's a good philosophy. As long as you have the confidence within yourself that you're going to be able to be resourceful enough to figure it out and do it well.
And surround yourself with great people.
That's the thing.
Having
you know,
having an amazing support staff and an amazing support team. When you're working with your clients now and you're doing that motivation, and I wouldn't say coaching, I don't know what the word would be, inspiring, guiding? What do you do?
Well,
like,
I
you
mean,
guide your clients?
When I first started my business, it was about art and it was about creativity. It was about, okay, am I digging this? Now it's more about the other person or the company or whatever it is. I'm really motivated by making their light up. You know, what can I do for you? How can I make your life different? You're at A, you want to be at B. I already see it happening. It's kind of like the David, where it's just, you know, a marble. I'm already seeing the David. So when I speak with you, it is kind of a coaching thing, because whether you're an entertainer or a singer and wants to get back in music and just knows about the music, and they don't know how to get to B, I'm already going boom, 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 boom. Okay, we'll talk to this person, we'll get this, we'll shoot this, and I see it.
Wow.
So it's like creating art in a sense, you know, and I get excited by that. When someone calls me up and says, you know, this happened, oh my God, it was amazing. I love it, because that was my input to kind of help them get to that point. You know, so
I kind of call it painting with people. Like I meet somebody and I put them on my canvas of success, and I meet somebody else. I'm like you. I'm a natural connector. So I stand back after something happens. I was like, oh, look at that! I put that person together 3 years ago with that person, and now they have a product, and now that product's on, you know, HGTV. I'm like, it's fun.
Yeah.
What we do is fun, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Really fun.
We make stuff.
Yeah.
We create. You know, with stuff that's already here. You know, and it's just it's kind of showing people. You know, pulling it from them and showing them. This is who you really are. This is what you can do. This is why you want to do it. And now they have internal motivation. And it also makes them much easier to work with you, especially some entertainers who maybe have a little bit of an ego, or maybe, hey, this is who I was in the past. I got 5 Grammys.
Right.
I don't have to listen to you. Okay, don't listen to me, but
your pictures are always going to look the same.
Yeah.
Right? Be the new you.
Be the new you. Who do you? And one of the philosophies I like to work with is, if you want to get to be, it's not what do I have to do, it's who do I need to become. Because I can't stay this person. I have to be 2.0 version to get where I got to go now, because what worked before may not work now. The world changed quickly, technology and personalities and things like that. So it's Star Equity. That's the reason I came up with that name. Is everyone's a star. You could have Star Equity in a landmark, in the sense that it has equity. People know about it, heard about it, it's been there for 200 years. Or if you're a celebrity and you know, you were on the television show, but it was 10 years ago, and now you want to get into something completely different. How do I utilize what I did and who knew me and my equity and bring it forward to something maybe even completely different? You know, we work with sports figures. We work with recording artists. We work with television people. We work, you know, companies too, with brands. Where you know, I have this and I want to sell it, but I want to create longevity. So everything is very strategic.
I love
And that's how we
that.
approach it. Yeah.
That's so wonderful.
Yeah.
You're far beyond just a photographer and far beyond a creative director, and it's been an honor to know you. And I'm looking forward to the journey with you. I know that there's many other things that are going to come our way that we're going to be enjoying together.
Yeah.
How can people find you?
You can go to yourstarequity.com.
Okay.
There's a phone number there or email, and you can just you know, give us a call.
Excellent.
Yeah, learn
Thank
more
you
about us.
very much
Yeah.
for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having
really
me, Donna.
enjoyed
I really
having you
appreciate
here.
it. Thank you so much.
Hey, you are a star. That's right. There's a star in all of us. Please reach out to Dave Allen Kogut. Thanks for watching. Live it up.